Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well and having a fantastic week. In today's video, we are doing a series with my good friend Dr. Jason Crean, where we are debunking parrot food myths and answering some of the most commonly asked parrot nutrition questions. So really excited to dive in. There's going to be lots of videos like this, so make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss any of them. But Jason, for anyone who's unfamiliar with you, would you mind just introducing yourself for everyone?
Sure. My name's Jason Crean. I am an aviculturist. I've had birds since I was 12, and that was a very, very long time ago. And I have been interested in animal nutrition so much so that that's really what drove me to become a biologist. I currently teach biology topics at the university level. I teach courses in animal nutrition, zoo biology, evolutionary biology, to name a few. And I love talking about bird food.
Awesome. Well, with that in mind, let's dive straight in. So in today's video, we're exploring some of the things that people say are toxic for your birds, and we are debunking whether they actually are toxic or whether they're not. Maybe there's some misinformation, maybe there's kind of somewhere in between as well. So we're going to start with one that everybody needs to know about, which is avocados. Again, you'll see that online everywhere. They're toxic, and we are going to tell you why and what the scoop is with avocados.
Yeah, so avocados are parrots eat them in the wild, right off the trees. The difference between those avocados and the ones that we have available at our local grocer is that the avocado needs to ripen on the branch. And when it ripens on the branch, the toxin called persin recedes from the flesh so that it's edible. And there is in order to extend their shelf life so that avocados don't ripen and rot before they get to your local grocer, you have to pluck them before they're ripe. So they're still toxic. Then they typically spray them with ethylene, which is what bananas secrete to, that help them ripen things around them. For example, don't put bananas with other produce. But that's why we can't feed avocados that we get now. Have people fed avocados to parrots that they purchase? Yes, and sometimes nothing happens, probably because it just had a lower toxin level. But you don't want to risk it. There's no way to know. So don't feed avocados. I'm going to say that twice. Don't feed avocados, even though they're eating them off the trees in the wild, because of how we process them here. It's too big of a risk, so we avoid feeding them.
Yeah, even a little bit is not worth it. Don't eat avocado around your birds, and don't go plucking avocados from the wild assuming that that means that it's okay to feed your bird. Just don't give them there are so many other things that you can offer, but generally speaking, they are actually one of the things that the internet is correct on, that they would be dangerous for your birds and you should never feed them. So let's move on to something that is often like pitted up there with avocados, and that is mushrooms. People say that mushrooms are toxic for birds, but that's not quite accurate, is it?
No, I mean, there's plenty of wild mushrooms that are toxic, but those are not on your grocer's shelf, I hope, for sale, that you would be, for sale for food. The edible mushrooms that you see at the store are absolutely fine. Parrots eat mushrooms in the wild. We have video of them eating mushrooms right off of trees in the wild, for example. And we have accounts from people that are involved in observing parrots in the wild, that they've seen this. But the quality of produce that you buy, you should know. So if mushrooms look moldy, then you wouldn't eat them yourself. Then don't feed them to your bird. But a little bit of mushroom and different types of mushrooms have a lot of health benefits. There's a lot of research emerging on lion's mane mushroom, for example, shiitake. Both of those, actually, if you put them in the sun for 15 to 20 minutes, will start producing vitamin D. And it's vitamin D2, which is less assimilated than vitamin D3, but it's still beneficial. And I suspect that parrots probably can use it better than we can, when it comes to synthesizing it. Um, but mushrooms have a lot of benefits, a lot of nutritional benefits, and we shouldn't be afraid of feeding them if we know the source, like the rest of your produce.
Yeah, for sure. And would they have to be cooked, or are they perfectly safe raw?
Yeah, and they're perfectly safe raw. I know there's people who will hand pick certain scientific resources and say, oh, see, they have agaritin, which is a toxin. That if you dig a little bit deeper, you'll find out most of that's gone by the time they get to your grocer. Refrigerating alone will eliminate a lot of those issues. And it's not toxicity as much as it is like indigestibility. And so our birds, these animals have evolved to eat things raw. They have not evolved to eat things cooked like we have. So the issues that we have when it comes to consuming raw whole food, we should not be putting on our birds that have our wild animals and have evolved to, adapted to consuming these tougher food items. So I feed mushrooms raw and have for 20 years.
Yeah. And you don't have to, if you're sitting there watching this and thinking, oh, and I don't know, I'm going to leave some resources down in the description so you can learn a little bit more about it. But you don't have to feed them, but you also shouldn't fear them, because a little bit could actually be quite beneficial to your bird if you're choosing mushrooms that you would also choose from the supermarket to feed yourself. So mushrooms are not as bad as you think.
I think one of the issues, and really it's limited to portobellos, which I think is probably one of the most common mushrooms that are available at the grocery store. Is the spores that will grow on them. You just wash them. Just wash them like you would any produce, and you're fine.
Okay. Let's talk about something, another, I'm going to spoil it, another myth that just will not go away. That things like apple seeds, for example, people say, well, they contain cyanide. If your bird eats an apple seed, it's game over. It's the worst thing in the world. And again, we need to look at that a little bit further, because that's not quite true either, is it?
No, and should you feed your bird a bowl of apple seeds? No, absolutely not. There's no reason for this. Stop it. Stop. Use some common sense. But the amount of the number of apple seeds a bird would have to consume to have any ill effects is much more than what's in a single apple, first of all. So stop worrying about every little thing. That is really not an issue. And keep in mind, birds have evolved to consume things that have moderate toxicity because plants don't want them eating too much of their stuff, right? So plants want birds to consume fruit and carry it someplace else so they can poop out the seeds and pass on their offspring to other places. Otherwise, they'd just be dropping all their seeds on the ground around them, and then they're competing with their kids for sunlight and everything. And plants don't want to do that. Plants are smart, so plants have evolved to attract animals to take their seeds elsewhere and spread their genes. And parrots consume a lot of these toxic things, moderately toxic things that don't kill them. And they're not going to not all parrots go to the clay lake to detoxify. And even some of the recent research says that's not really why they're going to the clay lakes anyway. But neither here or there. Regardless, we have to give our birds a little bit more credit. They're not these tiny little fragile creatures. They live in the wild. They survive in harsh environments all over the world. They'll be fine if they get a hold of a single apple seed. Just stop freaking out about it.
Exactly. It's all about that fearing food. Although you should fear avocados. I'm going to keep saying it throughout this video because I'm paranoid that someone's not going
Well, don't fear them because they're good for you. Like they're great.
yeah.
For people.
Yeah,
They're
you have
super
it.
healthy, super healthy. Just don't offer them to your bird. But really, human food, don't offer. There's not many human foods that you should be offering to your birds. So, feed your bird the healthy stuff, and don't give them, just because you're calling it a treat doesn't mean it's healthy.
Yeah, let's touch upon that, because again, that's one of the things that comes up as well. Is we hear time and time again that human food is bad for birds. And when we're talking about human food, we mean processed food like your cookies and your biscuits, crisps, coffee, chocolate, tea, all this stuff, pizza. I've even seen burgers, even fizzy drinks, which is a whole other thing that I've got a real bugbear about at the moment. But anyway, we'll talk about this for now. people seem to think that, well, it's just a little bit, so it's okay, right? Like, it's fine. It's just a little bit. I'm just sharing. I'm just bonding with my bird. But a little bit is actually quite dangerous, especially when it comes to these processed foods full of sugar and things. Isn't that right?
Yeah, potentially, when you're talking about a bird, birds are very have very low body mass, right? So they have to stay light enough to fly. That's how they're built. So a little bit of harmful food can have a big impact on a bird that has not much body mass. Um, so just because you're giving a little bit doesn't justify bad choices. If you're making bad choices, you need to just stop that altogether. There's no reason to feed your birds pizza crust or chicken bones. Like there's no reason for that to be fed. Feed them what is healthy. And there is a ton of healthy things. And if you know what they really, really love, and you think food is love, which sometimes we do, save those things for time with your bird. So sunflower seeds are very, very healthy. But if you want to hold the sunflower seeds you're going to give your bird each day, or every other day, save those for time with your bird, and that's their treat because that's something that's appropriate. So just keep those things in mind. Just because you're giving a little bit doesn't mean it's appropriate, and just because your bird likes it doesn't mean it's appropriate. That's a huge problem I see. That, oh, my bird loves this. Well, that doesn't mean it's healthy. I love chocolate cake, but I definitely should not be eating that every day.
Definitely. Yeah. So, although we think is a treat, there are lots of other treats or positive reinforcement that we can offer birds that are safe, that are considered treats to them, that are considered high value. And we do things like treat hierarchy tests where we lay out a variety of parrot safe treats like your walnuts, your sunflower seeds, hemp seeds, safflower, and see what they pick like first, second, and third. Then reserve those for your bonding and training and taming work because that is what they actually value out of those higher value things. They don't need to value pizza. It's not something that they would ever consume in the wild naturally, unless they're raiding bins, but then that's not good either. So make
Right.
sure whatever you're offering a bird is safe. Again, we'll have the safe and toxic list down in the description so you can go and check out what foods are good to offer and what foods to avoid as well. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Jason, where can people find out more about you and what you're up to at the moment?
So I have social media channels, Dr. Jason Crean on Instagram, which is Dr. Jason Crean, Crean, on Instagram, as well as Biodiversity Bird Blends, both there and on Facebook. And then if you search Avian Raw on Facebook, that'll come up with my group, Avian Raw Whole Food Nutrition, 21,000 plus members strong.
Including the both of us. So awesome. So all the links are going to be down in the description for you to check out. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any of the future videos like this. But thank you so much for watching. Take care and see you later.